What are you doing? Oh, just looking up hotels for my vacation. Ah, cool. Who are you going with? No one, just me. But like, you're meeting friends there, right? No, just going by myself. Like on a tour? No, just like exploring by myself. But you'll die. Hey guys, Katie from the K Show blog here, and today I'm sharing my 6 biggest solo travel tips with you. These are the tips that would be the first ones that would come to mind if somebody was asking me for advice on solo travel. This is what I would tell them. Here we go. First of all, have you hit that subscribe button? Let's go and do that so I can bring you even more videos and even more tips and chats and discussions and all this fun stuff we're doing here on YouTube. I'd really appreciate it if you could hit subscribe, and that's a good way to support my channel if you like anything I've done here on the vlog or on my blog or anywhere else. So the first tip I have is to take control of your safety. Be like in charge of it, be protective of yourself, and really put a lot of that control for your safety back in your own hands. So you can never keep yourself 100% safe, no matter where you are, whether you're at home or you're out traveling or anything like that. But I think there's a lot of things you can do to bring the risk down as much as you possibly can, so that, you know, you could, of course, always be in the wrong place at the wrong time and something bad could happen. But if you are taking control of your safety, you're just limiting the possibility of anything like that to happen as much as you can. So you can take control of your safety by just being responsible for yourself and being accountable for your own actions. So not like walking around dark alleys late at night drunk. You know, that's kind of adding risk to an already risky situation of being by yourself. Keeping track of your belongings, keeping them close to you, keeping them zipped up, not flashing around like expensive jewelry and expensive cameras and things like that. Bringing attention to yourself that's saying, I got a lot of stuff to steal, you know, like following any dress codes in countries that you might visit and being respectful in that way, or not budgeting properly for your trip and then getting stuck where you're making decisions based on what's the cheapest and not what's the safest. And you should always have extra in your budget for traveling because something always comes up that's unexpected. So, you know, definitely recommend doing that. But all these little things that just help reduce that risk and help to keep you as safe as you possibly can be. And you know, to be honest, if you're a big girl enough to be going solo traveling, then you're big girl enough to be being responsible for yourself and like being smart about your decisions. So just definitely the first biggest tip I have is just be in control and be very smart about what you're doing and think things through and be accountable for yourself, because nobody else is there to help you and nobody else is there to be accountable for you. Number 2, embrace being alone. And sometimes I think at home and even with solo travel, people want to escape the feeling of being alone. Like it makes people very uncomfortable to just sit with themselves and their thoughts and be alone. And in public, sometimes there's a stigma for people that are, you know, dining alone, for example, or just being alone. But my recommendation is like lean into that feeling of being alone and the experience of being alone and embrace it for what it is. You don't have to be by yourself, start to finish, for the whole amount of the trip. You can still have group experiences like day tours and whatever, but there should absolutely be some times like going for a dinner by yourself and walking around by yourself and having these moments where you are just by yourself, where you can just like sit and experience it by yourself without having anyone to answer to or any like buffers to make you feel comfortable. Like get out of your comfort zone. And then also it's good like insight into yourself, because you can sort of look at how being alone is making you feel and what you're thinking. And some people are just worried about like if they go to dinner alone, people looking at them or judging them or things like that. So just doing it is a good way to overcome that, you know, and that nagging fear or anxiety, because once you do it and then you realize like it doesn't matter. Like even, I'm sure people look at me eating alone all the time, but like who cares? I've just liked the experience of getting my meal, reading my book, having a good time by myself, like, and then nobody else matters. But maybe you need to do that a few times to get to that point. And it could be the same with walking by yourself or whatever else you're doing by yourself. Even for some people, just sitting in their room alone at night, like, and winding down and then going to sleep is harsh, you know, it's an uncomfortable experience. But I think if you really do it and then listen to yourself, like get that feedback from yourself on how it's making you feel, you can learn a lot about yourself. And actually the more you do it, you can begin to really enjoy being alone and be comfortable in it, so it's not unsettling. It just is, you know. Number 3, try a lot of new things and see what you like. Solo traveling is a great time to try new things, try new foods, try new different type of tours, try things that scare you. Just try a lot of new things and see what you like and what you don't. Like, it's a good experimentation time. You might find things that you didn't think you liked, but then you try them and end up liking them. And you might try things that you thought you liked, but then you don't like it. But like, either way, you have a cool story to tell, so it's not a wasted experience. But I think it's just a good time to be trying new things and experimenting and pushing your boundaries a little on what you're comfortable and like what you think you are, so you can learn more about yourself. I also think it's good to remember that it's your solo trip. Do it however you want. You know, like, you can make this your experience. So for example, in solo travel, like in the solo traveling world, a lot of people are typically like younger and like staying in hostels and doing a lot of partying and that type of travel. That's not me at all. Maybe when I was younger, but like at the stage I'm at now, I want a nice hotel and I want to just walk around all day and then crash at the night. Like, up early, walk around all day, crash in the evening. That's my style of traveling and that's what I enjoy, so I just do it that way. And I think that's the beauty of it. Like, just because you're going on a solo trip, don't think you have to do anything. Like, you can just make it however you like. And if you love staying in hostels and meeting people, go and do that, absolutely. And if you don't, you want a nice quiet hotel room, go and do that. Like, you can just make it however you want. There's not a right way and a wrong way to travel when you're traveling alone. Number 4, take it one step at a time. Like, if you're just starting out on solo travel and you want to get into it, maybe dip your toes in, you don't have to like jump in and do a 3-month tour of Southeast Asia right off the bat. You can do it little by little and sort of warm yourself up to it. If you jump in too balls deep at the start, you could just find it overwhelming and then hate the experience and then never want to try it again. But it's almost like how sometimes when people go to the gym, they're trying to get fit, and they just go ham right at the start in that first workout and kill themselves and kill all their muscles, and then they never want to walk back into a gym ever again. But it's not really that the gym was bad, it was just that they didn't sort of warm up to it and they overwhelmed themselves. And I think that's a good sort of metaphor, or whatever that's called, for traveling as well. Like, you might think it's cool to just jump in, do 3 months, but it might just be overwhelming for you and then you would hate it and never want to do it again. So what I recommend is start small, especially if you do struggle with being alone and loneliness and those sort of things. Like, if you are a bit more on the extroverted side, start small, do a dinner by yourself first. Then maybe you just go for a drive and do a little day trip somewhere by yourself. And then you might do an overnight or a short weekend away, just somewhere local. Then you might turn it into an out-of-state trip, and then maybe an overseas trip. Like, you can build up gradually. And I think that's probably a good way to do it, to build your confidence, especially if you are, you know, less confident at trying it out. Build your confidence little by little, and you'll get that boost and that feeling of empowerment, and then you can take it to the next step and the next step. And I think it's gonna allow you to have a way more enjoyable experience than like going balls deep on your first trip. Number 5, take day tours or walking tours. So each trip I take, I have a few like routines, I guess. So I always like to have one day where I have no agenda and I just walk around the town. Maybe there's a couple of things that I would be okay seeing, but it's mostly just to walk around and see what I find. And that's like my freedom day, to not have a checklist or a schedule. I always come across cool things when I have those days. I always try to also have another day where I take either a day tour or a walking tour or some sort of tour in the place that can allow me to like meet and chat to other people and also see the sights like with somebody teaching me about it. And I enjoy it, like I enjoy the connection with people. So that's kind of like things that I always do when I'm traveling by myself. And having a day tour day in my tours, like at least one, it's always been like a cool way to meet people and see new sights. And sometimes I can get to places that I might not be able to get to on my own, or it might be really tricky because I most of the time don't rent cars if I can avoid it. So they're just like always a great experience, and it's a great way to balance like having that time for yourself and then your time for other people and meeting people and things like that. It's also good to just support a local business in the area or a local tour guide or something like that. Like always think it's good to, you know, give back to these places, even if I could just walk around the city and find the spots. Like I like to make sure I have a balance of like supporting local businesses and doing my own thing. And honestly, like I've had so many cool experiences on day trips or day tours or walking tours or food tours, like a lot of good times. So I really recommend each time you go on a solo trip, like just do one, and I think it'll bring a lot to your travel experience. And lastly, take a travel journal. Oh look, here's one I made earlier, because this is the one I make. It's the Katie Show Blog Travel Journal. It's really awesome, lightweight, bendy, so it's good for travel. But since you're there by yourself, you don't really have that moment at night to talk through what happened in the day with somebody over dinner and just talk through your experiences. So it can be really easy to like forget things. So I really recommend having a travel journal. Obviously I recommend mine, it's cute, but like even if you have another one or just a notebook, just some way to document some of these things so you can really like preserve those memories, and especially the ones that, you know, the little things that you might forget. I also have a post of journal prompts on my website if you want to check that out for ideas. But either way, yeah, get a journal. Just a little bit of time before bed is all you need, just to jot down, you know, what happened in the day or your favorite moment was or something like that. But I'm really passionate about journals. I think they're important. And then when you read it later, it will take you like straight back to that moment and remember, you know, what you did that day. But also, since you are traveling solo, and maybe for you it is like a little bit challenging or confronting, or you're sort of like changing what you thought you were comfortable with, you can really do a lot of that exploration of yourself and how you're feeling about it all with your journal at night. Like, hey, I was really challenged by this and I thought it would be like this, but then it turned out like this. I really recommend getting a journal. So yeah, here's mine. I'll link it in the description, but whatever you get, I think it's a good idea. Overall, with solo travel, I just say go for it. Maybe it's just because I value independence so much, but I think it's so important to be okay by yourself and just to be completely content on your own without anyone around, without like that neediness of like, I need people to be happy. Like when you can be content just with yourself, I think you're in a really healthy place. Solo travel is just a great way to help you get to that place, you know? And I think there's absolutely other ways you could do it that are not related to traveling. But like I have a travel blog, so obviously that's what I'm going to be relating everything to. But I really recommend like giving it a go if you want to, or even those little things like I mentioned. Go to dinner by yourself, go to the movies by yourself, take a little day trip by yourself, and just try to embrace like that independent mindset and that comfortability of just being with yourself, you know, because you're probably really fun to be around. If you need safety tips or other solo travel tips, go to my website. I'll link it below, but I have some good guides on, you know, safety tips, like real talk, practical guides, nothing fluffy, just real tips that I've used myself and that I would recommend to you. So I have safety tips and other solo travel tips that I would absolutely recommend reading. And I also have like destination guides if you want to check out new places to visit. Go head on over there and check them out. But if you like this, please remember to give it a thumbs up. Maybe leave me a little comment on anything you think about solo travel. If you have tried it, haven't tried it, what do you think about it? I would really appreciate having a chat with you, because YouTube's kind of like maybe my loneliest social media platform that I don't get to chat as much. So I'd really love to hear from you. Plus, it's a good way to support your old friend Katie. And otherwise, I'll see you next time.